Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You are going to hear a conversation between a booking agent at XEC Tours and a tourist. But before we begin, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
Check Tours, can I help you?
Oh, yes, hello. I hope so. I'd like to bring a group of music and drama students to Prague in a few months' time, and I need some help organising some trips for them.
Okay, I'll try to help you. But I need to take some details about the group first, okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Right. First of all, how many people are there in your group?
Well, I've still got to confirm numbers. Not everyone is sure that they can come, but I think there will be about 15, not including me and another tutor.
Okay, and how old are they?
Oh, they're all adults. They're second-year undergraduates, so between 19 and 20 years old.
That's fine for now. But I'll need exact ages and names if you decide to book with us, okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so when would you like to visit Prague?
We think it'll be the second week in September for a week. Let me look at a calendar.
So that's the 5th of September to the 11th.
The 5th is a Monday, isn't it? No, I think we want to fly at the weekend so that we have the full week in Prague. We'll try to book plane tickets on Saturday the 3rd and travel back on the following Saturday.
The 10th of September?
That's right. So we'll need accommodation for 7 nights.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
We're hoping to stay in a youth hostel to keep costs as low as possible.
That shouldn't be a problem. But I don't organize accommodation myself, only activities. I can give you some useful numbers, though.
Yes, please.
Right, well, you could try Charles Bridge Hostel. It's right near the centre, and it's quite reasonable. About 690 koruna, or 30 euros per person per night. If you don't have any luck with that, you could try the Castle Hostel. It's not as central, and it's at the top of a very steep hill, but it's very nice.
It's good to have a second option. How much is that?
It's actually a bit cheaper, 25 euros a night, so that's about the same in pounds sterling.
Okay. Can I have the numbers of both hostels?
Charles Bridge Hostel is on 486 899 666.
Great. That's 486 899 666.
Yes, and don't forget to dial 00 420 from England before the number.
Okay.
It's probably better to send the Castle Hostel an email. It's castleHostel@prahaworld.ch. That's CASTLEHOSTEL at PRAHAWORLD.ch.
Great, thank you. I'll try the Charles Bridge Hostel now.
That's fine, but there's no rush. They're open from 9 until late. You can ring up to midnight.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a tour guide give a talk about a museum. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hat Museum. I'll try to keep this introduction short, as I can imagine you're all quite keen to have a walk around the museum and look at our exhibits. But I would encourage you to pay attention to the information I'll be giving you, as it will make your visit smoother and more fun. I'd like to start by apologizing for the very short opening times this week. As you can see, part of the museum is being renovated at the moment, which is why certain sections are not open to the public. I'll get back to that in a bit. Our usual opening hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but due to the works, we'll be closing down a bit earlier at 3 p.m. today. Still, it's only 11 o'clock now, which means you have 4 hours to get through everything and soak in all the beautiful hats. You're welcome to leave and return anytime you like, but please note the last admission is at 2:30 p.m., half an hour before closing time. Now, as you can see here, we've got a very large hall which serves as an introduction to the museum and which is where you'll find most of our extra facilities, such as the restrooms on your left and the shop and cafe on your right. Those of you with children are also welcome to visit our recreation office behind the shop, where you'll find resources for your kids such as quizzes, questionnaires, sheets for drawing, and other handouts. If we have any teachers in our midst today, you might also find this useful if you'd like to plan a future visit with your class. The museum is not particularly large, but you'll find it has a very ergonomic design. Starting with the room on our left, you will find the Ancient World section, with replicas of the types of skull caps and straw hats ancient Greek and Romans wore.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions.
The next room jumps forward quite a few centuries and transports you to 17th century Britain, where we have a small but impressive collection of original headgear. The rest of the museum's left section continues in the same vein, moving through the centuries all the way to the present, with a very large section dedicated to 20th century Europe. By the time you reach that section, you'll find yourself halfway through the semicircle of the row of rooms in the museum. This is the part where I'm afraid your visit will be slightly disrupted due to the renovation works I mentioned earlier. The right-hand section of the museum is dedicated to the journey of specific types of hats throughout history and the impact they've had on society. We've got a room dedicated to fedora hats, another to top hats, and yet another to berets, and quite a few more. Unfortunately, one of these rooms is currently closed and will remain so for the next 8 months. This is because of the fire that broke out in the museum a few weeks ago, which I'm sure you all heard about in the news. Thankfully, most of the exhibits in the fedora room were salvaged, but still, we have had to shut the room to fix it. Since this was our most popular room, however, we decided to move the exhibits temporarily to the cowboy hat room. What this all means for you is that when you reach the final room on the left-hand side of the semicircle, instead of being able to continue straight ahead into the right-hand side, you'll have to exit, skip the next room, and move on to the second room on the right-hand side, the bowler hat room. Now, just a few final words and then I'll let you be on your way. As you can imagine, most of our original hats are fragile and therefore exhibited in glass cases. Some of the replicas, however, are exhibited on mannequins. I hope this goes without saying, but trying on these hats is strictly prohibited, and we would greatly appreciate it if you carefully monitored your children. The hats should be out of reach for them, but we have had cases of children knocking down our mannequins to reach the hats, so please be extra vigilant. You will have the chance to try out hats in the shop if you wish to, and we have many different sizes for adults and children alike. Also, you are welcome to take pictures of the hats if you would like, but please do not use flash, as this can damage our more fragile hats. If you've forgotten your cameras, fear not. There's a phenomenal selection of photos and postcards in our shop. Now, finally, as some of you might know already, the Hat Museum is run entirely by volunteers. We do not charge an entrance fee, but you are encouraged to leave your donations in this box here by the entrance. Please be advised that we accept all currencies. Now, enough of my rambling on. Time for you to go in and enjoy our magnificent...
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear two students, Jenna and Marco, discussing a business studies project they have to do. You now have 15 seconds to read questions 21 to 24.
Come on, Marco. We've got to get on and sort out this project for Professor Buckley.
Hang on. I want to make sure we've got all the information. Now, where are we?
Well, today we need to sort out exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to divide the work up.
Okay. How long have we got, by the way?
The end of term is April 6th. And he said to hand it in on week 8, so that's March 25th at the latest, because the beginning of that week is the 21st, so not long.
Right. Have you got the notes there?
Yes. He wants us to do a fairly small-scale study, like the last one, on whether or not businesses were offering more benefits to staff. And we've now got to look at the rise in older workers. It should be fairly straightforward.
Yeah, as long as we keep it small. Who's marking it?
I don't know. Sometimes he gets the PhD students to mark it for him.
Oh, actually, it just says here, a senior lecturer. I suppose it's too much for Professor Barkley to do them all.
Yeah. Anyway, how are we going to go about this?
Well, we have to decide how big we want it to be and who.
Yeah, but I think we must sort out a timetable for the project. Otherwise, nothing will get done.
Okay. Do you want to do that?
All right. I'll do it as soon as we finish here.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Okay, what do we have to do now for the project? What's the best way to go about it?
Well, Professor Carter suggested we set up a focus group to get some in-depth interviews, but I think that'll take a lot of time.
Yeah, I agree. If we did a focus group, we'd have to spend time deciding who to include in it, and it's not necessary to do one anyway.
Oh, fine.
And if you agree, I think we should get in touch with the businesses on the list Professor Carter gave us and ask them if they're prepared to participate.
Sounds good. Then we can go there, give them questionnaires and collect them later.
Exactly.
Okay. Then do we need to book one of those study rooms in the library so we can work together to input the data? Perhaps not, as I guess just one of us could just sort it out actually.
Yes, that would be easier. A lot of what we're doing is qualitative, so it'll be writing up rather than statistics. No software for that, I'm afraid.
And I think it would look better if we had actual shots of some of the staff, because we're citing appearance as a factor in employability, aren't we?
Yeah, okay. I'll factor that all in when I sort everything out tonight.
I'm glad we decided to work together. I think it's going to work out well.
Yes, well, given that we had to work in pairs on this project, I think we were right to choose each other. We complement each other academically, as we're each good at what the other isn't. In fact, we should have tried working together before.
Yes. Now, how shall we split the work? I'll do the analysis, shall I?
Oh, okay.
It's just that it might be faster, because I'm used to doing it. Although your English is better than mine. I need more practice at reading, really.
Okay, I'll do the presentation then, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind speaking in public, but I hate preparing all the notes for them.
The thing is, the tutor said one person should do the whole presentation, and he said he expects me to do it because I haven't done one yet.
No, that's fine. Now, let's see.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
This morning, I'd like to look at the whole issue of contemporary art. What it is, how do we interpret it, what are its uses, and does art, in effect, have any advantages or disadvantages for society?
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Welcome to this series of lectures on interpreting contemporary art. This morning, I'd like to look at the whole issue of contemporary art. What it is, how do we interpret it, what are its uses, and does art, in effect, have any advantages or disadvantages for society? I think at this point it's important for me to clarify that I am looking at art from two main perspectives. Firstly, art as something made by and appreciated by individuals, and secondly, art's relationship with society, as it is society that supports, protects, and encourages art. And I'm hoping that this lecture will act as a springboard for you to revisit your own artistic experiences and question your own ideas of what contemporary art means. Throughout this series of lectures, I'll be looking at various examples of art to illustrate my points. However, if at any point I show you an example which is unfamiliar, then please tell me, as it is imperative that you be able to use your past experiences so that you can check to see if your ideas agree with mine. So if you have not seen a particular work of art before, then this will not work. And let me remind you now that at the end of these lectures you will be given a written assignment which will consist of a 2,500-word critical essay. This is not an art review, but an analysis of what you think this kind of art means. Okay, so what is contemporary art? Well, my view is that contemporary art reflects a particular time in history. In terms of Western civilization, this is the period that became known as the Renaissance, which began roughly in 1450. But this becomes confusing as the modern era is also considered to be from 1789, from the time of the French Revolution. Added to this are modern ideas and modern art that developed from 1890. This period has also been called the turn of the century. To try and somehow bring all these periods together, I shall define contemporary art as any art created from 1920 up until the present day. Turning now to the question of whether or not art is useful for society. Well, when we look back at the history of the West, we can see that there has been a tradition, especially in Western Europe, of art that was official. This meant that the government sponsored or subsidized the art. It could be said, therefore, that art has a cultural use, in that it can represent both the culture and history of a country. And let's remember what I said earlier, that this is both the history and culture of a particular time. Now, the disadvantage of this kind of official art is that it tends to be academic. And by that, I mean it is art that requires the person looking at it to be educated in art, at least to some extent. So it seems to me that this restricts this type of art to a particular social group. And whether you agree with this concept or not will depend on if you believe that art should be accessible to everyone. Of course, with the rapid developments in technology and advertising, the television, computer, and various forms of digital media, art has changed. And although there will always be a need for art to be subsidized by governments, we see today art forms that are surviving on individual subsidy. Sometimes this is through the support of wealthy patrons, such as businessmen or famous people. But it also operates on a more simple level. I refer here to the art that is done on walls and in streets, sometimes called amateur art. But it is the art of graffiti, and it is now accepted as an art form in itself. So here we come to what I see as another advantage for society, in that art is a means by which people can express their ideas, their feelings. Of course, in the case of graffiti, there is much debate as to whether the advantages outweigh the more negative side, which is when graffiti artists paint on public buildings. This creates unnecessary expense and also damages these buildings, which are meant for public use. We will be looking at some examples of this later on. Now, many critics of contemporary art have pointed to art that is often violent and even obscene. But I would like to suggest that such art is not meant to only shock us. It also has the element of exposure, so it can teach us about the violence in society. This then brings us to another advantage of art. It can raise awareness, help us see things in a different light. The disadvantage of this is that art can be dangerous. What I'm saying here is that if we accept that contemporary art has the power to influence our feelings and attitudes, then we have to accept that art can evoke negative feelings like anger as much as it can give us feelings of hope and peace. But art is, after all, about us, so it can be about our beliefs and our behavior. And as human beings, we possess both positive and negative traits. I'd like to show you some slides now to illustrate what I've been talking about.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.